Miss Jessica here from St. John Newman School for Children and Families. I'm here to read you Hansel and Gretel, a fairy tale with a Down syndrome twist by Jewel Katz, illustrated by Claudia Marie Lenart. This book is interesting because all of the pictures are made out of wool. One fateful night, a storm ripped through cottage country. People small and large hid in their basements. Strong, long trees hit the ground under loud claps of thunder. Nothing but lightning bolted through darkness. Fear hung in the air of this once rainbow-kissed secret place. The rain finally stopped pouring, days and days later. Cottage country was deserted. The only people left were a fisherman and his family. They had managed all this time with a hidden supply of food. However, now their cupboards were empty. Hunger had crept into their bellies. "What will I feed our 2 children?" his wife asked. The fisherman grabbed a large sack. "You needn't worry. I know just what to do," he said, and he called for their children. Hansel and Gretel soon appeared. Their clothes were terribly worn, and Hansel's stomach let out a grumble. The fisherman took the sack and went up to his daughter. "Give me your hand," he said. The young girl, no more than 9, opened her hand. The fisherman placed the sack in her hands and said, "The future of this family lies with you. I want you to take this sack and go out to the forest and find whatever food you can. Return only when the bag is full." Hansel twisted his foot. "Can I help?" he asked. Their mother gasped. She leapt to her feet. "You're sick, Hansel," his mother began to cry. "You won't be able to help in the least, especially at just 5 years old." The fisherman interjected. "You've always been too overprotective of the boy. He's not sick. He has Down syndrome. Let him go out in the world. At the very least, he can keep his sister company." The children listened to their father, and off they went. Both Hansel and Gretel could hear their mother crying as they left. "I don't even know where the forest is," Gretel grumbled. "That's easy. Follow me," Hansel said. "I used to play under the bushes all the time. Remember how I caught poison ivy there?" His sister nodded. "Yes, I remember. That's why I was never allowed to go in that direction. Mama spent so many weeks tending to your itchy wounds." Hansel took the lead. Gretel followed after him. She was huffing, puffing, and losing her breath. "Would you slow down, Hansel?" Gretel said. There were heaps of tree branches on the ground everywhere. She had to jump over one after the next. Hansel got a mischievous twinkle in his eyes. "Now that Mama and Papa aren't here, I can do as I please. Nobody is the boss of me." Gretel says, "This isn't about who rules the roost. We're here to collect food." Hansel kicked a pile of pebbles. "I don't see why I can't have a little fun." And off he ran. Now, Hansel had the ability to run super fast. Even though he fell along the way, he'd get up with a laugh. Dirty soil was splattered all over his cheeks. His pants had big holes, and he didn't care. His sister Gretel grew more and more worried as her brother ran deeper into the forest. She tried to keep up, but she was soon losing sight of him. She fell to the ground with tears spilling in every direction. Her sack had nothing in it. "What will I ever tell Mama and Papa?" No one heard her. Meanwhile, Hansel was enjoying his new freedom. He had no one to answer to, except for his belly that kept grumbling and rumbling. He soon grew more tired and thirsty. Soon enough, a peculiar cottage caught his eye in the distance. He decided to run towards it. When he finally arrived, Hansel couldn't believe what he saw. Never in his wildest dreams had he ever seen anything like it. for it was a real-life house made entirely of candy. The bricks were created from chocolate, candy canes sprouted from the ground, sugar icing was all over the roof. The windows were made of cinnamon sticks, there were marshmallows. As Hansel feasted, he thought of his sister, Gretel, and her sack. If she were only here, they could take candy back to the family. Well, look who's arrived at our doorstep, an ill-sounding voice interrupted Hansel's gobbling. Hansel looked up to see a witch, clad in black, with a green toad on her shoulder. She even had a broomstick perched by her side. Hansel gasped. "It's one of those people with Down syndrome," the talking toad said. "Yes, our very first guest with a disability," the witch cackled. The young boy brushed crumbs off his face. "I have a name," he said. "My name is Hansel." "He talks too," the toad went on. "I'm sure he'll make for a fine supper." "I agree. I just wonder how stupid this kid with Down syndrome is," the witch stated. Hansel ran up to the witch, kicked her in the shin. The witch lost her balance and fell over flat, knocking down the toad and the boy. Hansel jumped to his feet. "I'm smart enough to do this." He grabbed her broomstick. "You can't fly without this, can you?" He mocked this. The toad and the witch looked on with horror. "Give that back to me at once," the witch demanded. "I'll give it back to you because it belongs to you, but I won't be doing it so fast." "What do you want?" the toad asked. "I want you to take me inside your home and give me the potion to create a candy house for my family." The toad squealed. "We can't do that. It took years to perfect that recipe." The witch sighed. "What choice do we have?" she said quietly. "Without that broom, I can't fly, and we'll both shrink into tiny ice sculptures." Hansel smiled. "It looks like we have a deal." The toad and witch said nothing and started heading inside their home. Hansel followed. The candy house was a sweet-toothed lover's dream. Candy, candy, and more candy was stuffed inside. There was a large book called the Magic Book of Spells. Behind it were potions. The witch grabbed a bottle, shoved it into Hansel's pocket. "Here you go," she said, with a tear in her eye. For some reason, Hansel felt pity for the old woman. "Tell you what," he said, "why don't we all go to my family's home? You can create the forever candy house for us. Then I'd like you and Toad to be the first guests to join us for dinner." "Really?" the toad and the witch said together. "Nobody's ever done that for me before," the witch said quietly. "Lots of things happen for the first time," Hansel answered. The toad, witch, and Hansel hopped into the broomstick. They flew to Hansel's family cottage. Gretel had returned home safely. Mama and Papa were awestruck when, with a sprinkle of some potion on worn grass, their very own candy house sprouted up. The family sat down to have dinner for the first time in many, many days. Everyone was hungry. The fisherman looked at his son, the witch, and the toad. "I will forever be grateful to you all." Hansel peered at the witch and the toad. "I would like to give you the first of our food as our special guests," he said, handing them a basket of cookies. The witch was so touched by this act of kindness that she began to cry tears of joy. As this happened, she miraculously turned into a beautiful maiden, and the toad became a tiny puppy. The whole family was shocked. "What should we call you?" Hansel asked the young woman. "Mirella," she answered. "My name has always been Mirella, but people just called me the witch." The young boy stuck out his hand. "I can relate. My name has always been Hansel." "Hansel is much more than Down syndrome," his mother piped in. "He's my brother," Gretel said. "He's my son," Papa said. "Hansel is my friend," Marilla said. The puppy barked. And so their family's new friendship began. The end.